Spanish translation services are being provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 *.
Se ofrecen servicios de interpretación en español para esta reunión del Consejo Municipal por teléfono. Marque el número 720-386-9023 y utilice el código 104091 *.
All votes on tonight's agenda will be conducted as a roll call vote. I will call a regular meeting to order. We'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Douglas,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble,
Present.
Councilmember Madera, Councilmember Teeter,
Present.
Councilmember Chacon,
Present.
Councilmember Kim, here. Councilmember Dukes, Councilmember Ford,
Here.
Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Mayor Douglas, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to excuse the member not present. Councilmember Ford,
So move.
Councilmember Teeter.
Second.
Motion on the floor is to excuse the member not present. I will ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 6-2. All right. On to Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do any council members wish to amend the agenda? I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented. Councilmember Kim.
So moved.
Councilmember Teeter.
Second.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to adopt the agenda as presented. I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passed unanimously with one excused absence. All right, on to public comments. All public comments except for those in a public hearing will occur now. If you're intending to comment about a public hearing on tonight's agenda, please refrain from doing so until the public comments for that particular hearing. Public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes each. Persons registered to speak multiple items may speak multiple times. Will the city clerk call any virtual in-person speakers?
Thank you, Mayor Douglas. Our first and only virtual speaker tonight is going to be Mike Schlafer. Mike, if you're in the Zoom meeting and can hit *9 on your phone or use the raise hand function in Zoom, Mike Schlafer. Mike, you should be able to unmute yourself and you'll have 3 minutes once you begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mike. You may begin.
I'm not really sure what the penal code is. I've gone through officers. I've talked to my neighbors. My issue is if you were to pull into my driveway right now and you were to back up, my neighbor on the other side has both cars within 5 feet, which I understand in Commerce City is okay. But I'm here to kind of put perspective on it and fight against that because my other neighbor parks within 5 feet of my driveway. So trying to pull a right, I cannot pull out safely, which if there is an emergency, which I have had emergencies before, trying to pull out, trying to go somewhere, it stops me. So my plea to the committee is to change that to 5 feet, just like a fire hydrant would be for emergency uses as well, because it gives us room to get out. And I just wanted to make it short and sweet.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor Douglas. That concludes our virtual speakers for tonight. We'll now move on to our in-person speakers. Our first in-person speaker tonight is going to be Jackie Valdez. Jackie, if you can approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes once you begin. Thank you.
Good evening, council and city management. First of all, I had spoke earlier with the mayor, and I have also spoke with Mr. Rogers concerning my fencing. And I was asked to discuss that matter in a future manner. So one of the things I wanted to discuss tonight is we are now coming upon spring and summer. And we are already encountering large vehicles, 68. We are encountering asphalt, concrete, and semis. We are encountering the go-karts, the mini bikes, the off-road dirt bikes, and the four-wheelers. This has been for several weeks now that we have encountered this situation, and it's only going to get worse. So I am asking tonight for each one of the council members, including city management, to kind of think, and including the police department, of a way that we can address that it's not going to totally affect your life, nor then it's going to affect our life. Again, I spoke with the mayor and city management about this, and the police department, and I do not want another death. I've already had my cat killed on Colorado Boulevard for excessive speed. They fly through there. They do not slow down. When you've got big semis flying through there and they're not doing 35 miles an hour, and you can see that. Mayor has came out, councilman has came out, and they've saw that. So we need to address this situation before it gets worse. I'm tired of this speeding up and down the streets. So I'm also asking for the speed limits to be reduced. And I don't care where we got to go, who we got to see, and what we got to do, but we need to put the speed limits down to at least 15 miles an hour on the side streets before a child gets hit or an animal, because excessive speed is just getting out of hand. Saturday morning at 6:14 in the morning, I hear squealing tires. My camera pops up and there's an SUV chasing a car. So he comes from Colorado Boulevard onto 68th, and then he goes down to Ash, takes a left on Ash, headed northbound, and the tires are squealing. And I mean, they literally are flying, chasing each other at 6:14 in the morning. It's dangerous. And you never know. If they've already landed in my front yard with an ATV, a car would be a lot worse. I've seen it happen to a family member of mine. So I'm asking each one of you to kind of take a moment of your time to kind of think of what we can do for Commerce City. Let's make our Commerce City a lot better than what it is when it concerns these things, before anything else happens.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Councilmember Dukes, do you have a question?
I do. Just for City Manager Rogers, I know last year part of our budget, we allocated money for a Safe Streets initiative. And I wonder if you could give an update to include, we talked about the radar van and things of that nature.
Yes, sir. So as part of the 2025 budget, you approved, I believe, somewhere between 100 to 300,000 as it relates to some safe plan initiatives that could be included but not limited to radar, speed bans. You've also taken some accommodating steps in the interim with having a pole camera attached to the intersection of 68th and Albion, facing or looking easterly. In that radar ban. We are still working through the procurement of that. I don't have the particular details on delivery of that, but we are looking at radar bans, and we're looking at other devices that would help to address some of these concerns. We're also looking at expanding Flock into the Adams Heights neighborhood, which would also be additional eyes and ears in that community. You all will probably also know that we've already installed various speed humps, and we'll be looking at making further improvements on 68th Avenue to the tune of around $1.5 million when it's all said and done as part of that corridor study plan. So, we've invested a significant amount of dollars and improvements and continue to do so into the near future.
Councilmember Kim?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question. So Ms. Valdez had mentioned that there was some squealing tires, vehicles chasing each other over the past weekend, right? Was there a call for service at all, a 911 call regarding that?
No, sir.
When's the last time that there was a phone call made by 911?
If we're speaking specifically from Ms. Valdez, the last call we would have is from February 21st.
Okay, and I'm assuming, was that situation resolved at the time?
At that time when that was brought up, that was in regards to an individual on a yellow three-wheeler and a child on a dirt bike.
So since then, though, it sounds like there's been issues, but there hasn't been actual calls for service to advise the officers of the issues.
Not from this resident. We would have to check others within that.
I would request if we could explore others that may have called as well. So anyways, all right, that's all I've got. Thank you.
There has been calls.
Jackie? Okay, thank you, Ms. Valdez. Appreciate that. Sorry about that. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you. I would like to go back to Councilmember Duke's question. And as I recall, we were going to be getting a Safe Streets report, or there was funds coming in for that. There was something that in general was going to be happening for Commerce City. How are we doing on that presentation?
So you all are actually going to be receiving next Monday a safety action plan update on where we stand with the completion of that or the next steps.
All right, that's good to know. And I will say that the vehicles, the off-road vehicles, are becoming quite commonplace in the north as well. So I think that this is becoming a problem not only in the south, but also in the north. And as it spreads, perhaps we need to have some discussion about that next Monday as well.
Yes, ma'am. Just as a friendly reminder, you all did ask us to, that's myself, the city attorney, as well as your judge, at looking at existing or potential additional steps that could be taken from the fine schedule as it pertains to ATVs, motorbikes, mini bikes, given that he has the discretion within his municipal court on being able to set that fine or to work within that maximum that you all would be able to set. I would say, obviously, when you would like to talk about the safety action plan in general, one of the big things, and I'll call it what it is a problem that even our police force sees now and will continue to see, is that we have a do not chase. So whether or not those mini bikes and or three-wheelers choose to yield when being advanced to be able to make contact, we do not chase. And that is our practice, that is our standard, that has been in standard for the overall protection and general welfare of the broader community. And we have had a number of those instances where our police are aware and try to make contact and they drive away. It's just the reality of the issues that are before us. Now, as part of the presentation that was made to you all last year, the one thing that has been a sticking point has been the lack of support at the state legislature around some of the criminal reform that has put us in this position with limited enforcement abilities and tools for us to tackle outside of finding and or being able then to take certain actions when someone has actually yielded to us. So I just want to just remind you all of that aspect as well.
Councilmember Ford.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I saw a four-wheeler and I reported it going down Highway 2 at about 65 miles an hour. And police tried to pull him over. He just drove across the train tracks and continued to leave. I'm hoping that through some of your resources that we're getting and capabilities to utilize drone technology and things of that nature to try to identify who these people are and where they're coming from. Because no one wants these four-wheelers running around creating risk to the rest of our community. But it's not, with the state laws, it's not as simple to be able to do something about it. I'm all for raising the fine and putting more extensive fines on these people when we do catch them. But the reason that I wanted to speak was I wanted to ask you specifically, City Manager, if you were able to get the information to Ms. Valdez about the programs that are offered to be able to get her fence repaired.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, since things are brought up about ATVs and all that, I did have a discussion with Ms. Valdez yesterday and this afternoon about different programs we have and the ability for her fence to get fixed. So I was going to also ask about, we're having a study session here soon about fees. Is that on the schedule for next month? Fee schedules?
So you all actually haven't taken any steps about the fee schedule. You all had a discussion around the table with the development community around fees. I think you all tonight, if that's a step that you want to take, I think I can work with the city attorney and the judge on how to subsidize, or, sorry, go for it.
No, I just wanted, there's this big distinction between fee schedule and fine schedule. I just want to clarify, right? So the fine schedule, under state statute, the municipal court judge has the discretion to set the fine schedule with the limit, right, the maximum that is promulgated by this council under municipal code. Fee schedule, very different.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. Just
okay.
fines. Because if there's no, I understand about chasing an individual, that puts everybody else in harm's way. Other cities don't do that. They chase people and we end up seeing them on the news and all that. But we should look at the fines and make it where if you are caught, it's going to be a substantial amount. And I'm sure we have to talk to our municipal judge about that because we can only go so high
Right.
in Commerce City, and if otherwise it goes up to the county, and so there's other problems.
If it would be helpful, I'm happy to reach out to the municipal judge and let him know that this issue came up this evening, and to the extent that he has thought about and put pen to pad to a revision in his fine schedule, conveying that to you all, I'm happy to relay that message.
Okay, we'll bring that up during administrative council business. Councilmember Douglas?
While we're on the topic, is there any possibility of limiting where these ATVs can be, driven?
So we've actually put out a variety of different communications and collateral over the last couple of weeks. Some have been posted to social media. Some may or may not have been updated on our website yet. Some have also gone into our weekend review about how we are cracking down on ATVs and where they are and where they are not permissible, and what to do when you come across. In the general direction that we have given to any and all of our residents that have been looking at these various communications is call 911. Because that way it will allow for us to take immediate action because they are, in essence, breaking the law, and we need to take corrective action if we can address it.
Thank you for that answer, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. Is there any possibility that we can limit where these can be used on the roadways? We've got that for golf carts, and why can't we apply it to ATVs so that it has to be off-road, so that there are only certain places that you can operate these vehicles, and that might eliminate a whole lot of this if there were a possibility to limit it, the places that it could be.
So, yes,
Operated.
we already do, and that's already prescribed within the Colorado revised statutes, that you cannot operate an ATV on any public roadway, highway, or street in Colorado. So it's already within state law on that prohibition, hence why there's that drive to call 911 so that we can enforce state law within our jurisdiction. So, and we've tried to communicate that, and like I said, a number of different ways out to the community, and we'll continue to do so for their awareness and education so that they can take action when they see it.
I think we need to get that out there, and we need to break it down where people can really understand that is a solution to preventing these vehicles to be and do these have to be licensed? I mean, is there some way of identifying the vehicle as well, or not?
We can certainly get back to you. My sense is that it's probably governed under the model traffic code.
All right, thank you. I just think that, if people understand that that's the law and that they can call 911 when they see something like that, that might prevent a lot of the traffic that we're seeing, because right now, people think that they can do it, and it's not a big deal.
Thank you. I'm sorry. No, sorry. You had your 3 minutes, and so we can talk offline, okay? Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Douglas. Our second and final in-person speaker for tonight's public comment is going to be Shirley Henney. Shirley, if you can approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes once you begin. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shirley, and I live at 6390 Olive Street. I have 3 complaints tonight. One was about the street speeding, people speed through the school zones. The other one is about the street light on 64th and Olive. I called on January 28th. I called the non-emergency phone number. They got in touch with Public Works, and I talked to somebody with Public Works, and they said they'd put it on their calendar. So I waited 4 weeks, and somebody said, you need to call Xcel Energy. So I did. I called Xcel Energy on February 27th. And then I was told that the solar lights around one of the stop signs have been out for a couple months too. And they said that belongs to the city. So I told them about that, and they were out there last Thursday trying to fix it. The one that goes eastbound at the 4-way stop at 64th and Olive. They had it working, but it went out right away. So it's still out. There was an accident there March 6th. Somebody ran the stop sign. I think people are angry because they put a 4-way stop there. And my last thing is, I need an answer. Why did Commerce City have all the prairie dogs killed in the Prairie Gateway open space right across the street? They said, pest control company said that Commerce City wanted them dead. So do you have an answer for me?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's the first time I heard about this situation.
That's what they told me.
Right. We're not privy to all of what Commerce City does on a day-to-day operation. That would be our city manager, Jason Rogers.
I did ask somebody that works, that was driving a truck, and he wasn't aware of it either. I asked the ranger that was walking around last week. She didn't know either. And I know one time they killed them all because they had the bubonic plague. But the pest control company I said, are you killing all these prairie dogs? And he said, yes, Commerce City wanted them dead.
Okay,
And they were alive. And it's something to see when you are walking down the trail and they're alive and they drop the pellets in and they cover up the hole to kill them. And they're all dead over there now. I thought that was their home over there. Do you have it? Does he have, anybody has an answer?
well, thank you for that question. City Manager Rogers, could you elaborate
I
on
would say
that, or-
we'd have to talk with her offline, Mayor.
Okay.
It's very upsetting. And, you know, about the street light too, because there's a lot, it looks like there's a lot of crime in my area now. So
You said the streetlights on
I
64th
did
and
call Excel Energy and they put a work thing in and they gave me a number to call, you know, it could be 3 or 4 months before they get it fixed, but it gets dark in that corner.
And that's on 64th and
and
Olive?
Uh-huh.
And then the
it's in
stop
front
sign
of-
is the stop sign is also at,
Yeah, the stop sign's in front of the Methodist church. There's a four-way, they always had a stop sign on Olive, but then they put it on 64th.
Okay.
There's one by the other church across the street, but those solar lights are working. It's the solar lights that are by the Methodist church.
all right.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm taking
No,
more
no
than 3
problem.
minutes.
And we'll get those answers for you. That's concerning to have a light out and then just have stop sign that's supposed to flash, and that's not working as well. And also, you will get your answer about the prairie dogs and how they were taken care of,
And I
okay?
was gonna say, they do not chase anybody, because I walk that trail 5 days a week, and you can stand right next to them, and they'll look at you, and then they'll run down to their little hole. They won't go after you or anything, so, but they killed them all.
All right, well, thank you for
Okay,
bringing
I'm
that
sorry.
forward. No
So I
problem.
was just worried about the speeding too, through
Okay.
Commerce City.
Well, thank
But
you for that as
So
well.
you're-
Thank you. Councilmember Teeter.
I have a question for the city manager. Who is responsible for fixing the streetlights?
It depends. We do have a certain number of streetlights that are under our control, but generally speaking, in the core city, that would be Excel.
Oh, that would be Excel?
Yes, sir.
What
Like I
about-
said, we do have a certain number. It's not a lot. And they may be along our major thoroughfares, but when we're talking about streetlights in that general location, they may typically be under the control of Excel.
What about on Highway 2?
Highway 2, I'd have to confirm with our Public Works team. That may be a mix of both city and Excel. Like I said, we have a small percentage of ownership of all traffic or of all streetlights throughout the city.
Okay, so when somebody turns in a complaint to the city, then the city forwards that to Excel?
Yes, unless it is one pole that's under our purview or jurisdiction.
Then- Okay, thank you.
Mayor Douglas, that concludes all of our public speakers for
All
tonight.
right, thank you. Okay, appreciate that. Okay, that concludes our public comments. If any follow-up is necessary, you should be expected to be contacted by a city staff member. On to proclamations. First up is Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. We'll invite Kim Messina with the Victims Right Advocacy forward, please, to read the proclamation.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kim Messina. I'm the Victim Services Manager for the Brighton Office for Victim Assistance. We provide services, victim services, to the communities of Brighton, Commerce City, Fort Lupton, and Lochbuie. So I'll read the first proclamation. For Child Abuse Awareness Month, whereas every child deserves to grow up in a safe, supportive, and nurturing environment, free from abuse and neglect, and whereas child abuse and neglect causes lasting harm to children's well-being and significantly increases the risk of future challenges, including mental health issues, substance abuse, incarceration, unemployment, homelessness, impacting both individuals and communities. And whereas preventing child abuse and neglect requires a community-wide effort with child serving agencies educators, healthcare providers, law enforcement, and advocacy groups working together to support and strengthen families. And whereas enhancing protective factors such as parental reliance, social connections, concrete support, and child development knowledge helps to reduce abuse and neglect while promoting family stability and positive outcomes for our children. And whereas organizations such as CASA, which is the court-appointed special advocates of Adams and Broomfield counties, plays a vital role in advocating for children who have experienced abuse and neglect, ensuring that their voices in court and access to resources they need to heal and thrive. And whereas during the month of April, individuals, businesses, and organizations are encouraged to participate in activities that promote awareness, education, and support for child abuse prevention efforts, including wearing the color blue, displaying the blue ribbon, planting pinwheels, and engaging in outreach initiatives. And now, therefore, the City Council of Commerce City do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Child Abuse Awareness Month and Prevention Month, and urges all citizens to join in the observance by increasing awareness, advocating for children, and working towards a community where every child is valued, protected, and given the opportunity to reach their full potential.
Thank you, Ms. Messina, I appreciate that. Councilmember Ford.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation as read.
Okay. Councilmember Kim?
I'd like to second that.
All right. Any discussion? Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for bringing this forward and reading the proclamation so eloquently. This is a very, very important issue and needs to be recognized and addressed. And our children are our future, and they deserve the best life possible. And we have to recognize abuse when it happens, and we have to prevent it from happening going forward. So thank you so much for coming forward and presenting this proclamation.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Yes, I also want to recognize and appreciate this proclamation and the families that also take in children as well,
Yes.
to shield them. I know I've heard many stories, and not just here in Colorado, but kids coming from other states here as well for protection. And those are stories we don't hear. And the only reason I have heard those over the years is coming to a breakfast, a cost of breakfast, or a fundraiser. And so people need to be aware of wherever they can and making it known if a child is being abused or so, and where to call and get that information. So thank you very much for reading the proclamation.
Absolutely.
All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. I will ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passed unanimously with 8 and 1 excused absence. Up next is the Autism Awareness and Appreciation Month proclamation. I will invite Dee Dee Gillum and Johann Stranahan with the DEI Commission forward to read the proclamation.
Okay. Good evening, council. Whereas autism is a developmental disability characterized by a range of successes and challenges with socialization, communication, and behavior, and whereas the symptoms of autism typically are present before age 3 and are often accompanied by abnormalities in cognitive functioning, learning, attention, and sensory processing. And whereas autism affects 1 in every 44 children in the United States, is 4 times more likely to occur in boys than in girls, and can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, or other factors. And whereas the parents and relatives of individuals with autism are commended for their sacrifice and dedication in providing for the special needs of individuals with autism. And whereas the need for for early intervention services begin soon after a child has been diagnosed with autism to significantly improve health outcomes and reduce the level of funding and services needed to treat people with autism later in life.
And whereas people with autism can be and are productive members of the workforce if they are given appropriate support, training, and early intervention services. And whereas individuals with autism, like all other Americans, should have the opportunity to realize their ambitions and lead rewarding lives. And whereas, with the autism diagnosis rate increasing fast, we take these 30 days to celebrate the differences of, learn more about, and empower autistic individuals. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of Commerce City does hereby proclaim the month of April as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month in Commerce City.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Kim.
So moved?
Councilmember Chacon.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Chacon.
I was a special needs teacher for a few years in Boulder Valley School District, and every one of those kids were my kids. So I really appreciate you just bringing awareness, and honestly, also having family members on the spectrum. It also kind of takes away the stigmatization of having autism. So I really appreciate this and the city for bringing this forward, and for you for reading the proclamation as well. You're welcome.
Councilmember Douglas.
Yes, I'd like to thank you as well for bringing this proclamation forward and reading it so eloquently. I know families who have autistic family members, and the love that they have for those family members is amazing, and I just have so much respect for those families because the humanity is there. And I believe that autism is becoming more prevalent than it has been in past. And I'm really glad that it's being recognized as something that can be lived with, and that it can be a gift rather than a burden. So I really thank you for coming forward, and thank you.
You know, I say thank you as well for reading the proclamation. I know we have 2 school districts, 27-day, now it's 14, that we have kids with autism that go and attend those schools. And the amount of care that the teachers take with those students, I really appreciate that, because it takes all of us to make sure those kids have a good quality of life as well. And sometimes that gets passed on and we don't know about it. So by bringing this forward and showing appreciation from Commerce City, that goes that our community cares. So thank you. All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 8 with 1 excused absence. All right, up next is Seek Awareness and Appreciation Month proclamation. And it's going to be, sorry about that, Armin Bajwa, Commerce City residents, forward to read the proclamation. Dylan, I have a question for you. One second, thank you. I don't have the proclamation for autism. I think these two are just saying autism's not. No. Okay, thank you. All right, I apologize for that.
No worries. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. My name is Harman Kaur Bajwa. I am one of the members of the wonderful Sikh community here in Colorado, and I will be reading the proclamation with my brother Gursev Singh Bajwa. Whereas Sikhs have been living in the United States for more than 100 years, and during the early 20th century, thousands of Sikh Americans worked on farms, in lumber mills and mines, and on the Oregon Pacific and Eastern Railroad. And whereas Sikhism is the fifth largest religion in the world today, and there are more than 26 million Sikhs worldwide. And whereas since arriving, Sikhs have made valuable contributions to the state of Colorado, including establishing multiple gurdwaras, houses of prayer. And whereas Sikh Americans pursue diverse professions and make rich contributions to the social, cultural, economic vibrancy of Colorado, including serve as members of the United States Armed Force and significant contributions in agriculture, information technology, small businesses, the hotel industry, trucking, medicine, politics, technology, and many other industries.
And whereas Sikh Americans strive to distinguish themselves by fostering respect among all people through faith, leadership, service, and promotion of equality of all human beings. And whereas today the city of Commerce City, Colorado, seeks to highlight the diversity of its communities and afford all residents the opportunity to better understand, recognize, and appreciate the rich history and shared experience of Sikh Americans. Now therefore, the City Council do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I need a motion, a second, to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Ford?
Thank you. I would like to move approval of the proclamation. Council is seated.
Councilmember Dukes?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilmember Ford?
Yeah, not that I needed to talk, but I've known the Sikh community in Commerce City for many, many years. There's a lot of good people that are doing good work for our community. Matter of fact, one of the great things that they do every year is provide all the drinks for the Memorial Day Parade. And, they go above and beyond to try to participate in this community. So I would like to thank those members of our Gurdwara here in Commerce City for their efforts to participate as residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you so much for reading the proclamation from the City of Commerce City. I really appreciate Sikh community's contribution to Commerce City, both community development and economic development. Your commitment to Commerce City is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Councilmember Douglas?
I just also wanted to say thank you for being a part of our community. You're such a great part of our community, and I hope that you feel loved and welcomed here.
Thank you, and I appreciate, as a family, coming to read the proclamation. And, what value you bring to this community. I've gotten to work with a lot of Sikh community, whether it's at the Sikh temple or as a business, as far as grand opening of a business. You bring a lot. You're part of community. You're also with their education. I had our daughters went to school as well with you, Harvey, and so it brings me joy to see the Sikh community here as well. I mean, I know it's one thing that is to be behind the community, but also to invite and make sure that you're part of this community and that you great representation. Just as Councilmember Ford said at our Memorial Day Parade, you guys have a great presence there. Great amount of community members walked that parade and handed out water to everyone. And not one person denies any of the water that you guys bring and offer. So thanks again for reading the proclamation. The motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. We'll ask this clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes with 8 yeses and unanimously with 1 excused absence. And so when we're all done reading the proclamations, we're going to ask you guys to come up and take a picture together with the city council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up again. Let's see, that's who's up next here. Hold on one second. City clerk, were you able to find that?
Yeah, we're working on getting a
I
framed
appreciate
copy in
that.
there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, up Sexual Assault Awareness Month proclamation. I will invite Kim Messina up again to talk about victims' rights advocacy and about sexual awareness. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, Kim Messina, Victim Services Manager for the Brighton Office for Victim Assistance. So whereas April is recognized as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a time to bring attention to the pervasive issue of sexual violence and to honor the survivors who have been impacted by this crime. Whereas statistics reveal that 1 in 5 women in the United States experience completed or attempted sexual assault in their lifetime, and 1 in 4 men experience some form of contact of sexual violence during their lifetime. Whereas sexual assault, sexual harassment, and rape affect individuals throughout our community, regardless of their age, race, gender, or background, and remains a significant issue in our society that depends on our collective attention and action. Whereas the City of Commerce City acknowledges the National Sexual Assault Awareness Month theme of Together We Act, United We Change, recognizing the vital importance of working together across all sectors of our community to prevent and address the sexual abuse, sexual assault, and harassment. Whereas we understand that when workplace, schools, and communities collaboratively to uphold safety and respect, we create safer environments that helps prevent sexual violence and promotes justice for all individuals. Whereas sexual assault is one of the most underreported crimes, and victims often face a higher risk of substance misuse, psychiatric disorders, and suicide, and other serious health and social challenges. Whereas, as a community, we must all share the responsibility to support victims who come forward by believing them, listening to their stories, and working to bring justice in whatever form it means to the individual affected. Whereas, we must act together to open the safe avenues for victims to come forward to educate the City of Commerce City about sexual violence, supporting survivors, and working to break down the stigmas and the barriers that prevent individuals from seeking help. Whereas education is the first step towards action and empowering our community, especially our young, to be a part of the solution by fostering inclusivity and encouraging them to shape a safer, more respectful future for all. Now, therefore, the City Council of Commerce City does hereby proclaim April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, reaffirming Commerce City's commitment. We call on all citizens to take part in creating communities that foster safety, understanding, and justice for all.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Kim.
So moved.
Councilmember Chacon.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Kim, for reading this proclamation as well.
Absolutely.
I was reading on my iPad and this here, so we got to make sure we get the right proclamation. Okay,
Yes.
all right. Let's see, next one. National Crime Week proclamation. And Kim, could you, yes?
Mayor, you need to vote.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that, again, hit myself. Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. We'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Councilmember Douglas, did you have something to say? Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, that passes unanimously with one excuse absence. All right, up next, the last one, National Crime Victim Week proclamation. Thank you.
Again, thank you
Yes.
so much for having me this evening. So the National Crime Victims' Rights Week proclamation. Whereas the victims' rights movement has resulted in the passage of laws at the local and state and federal levels that established essential rights for victims. Whereas Crime Victims' Rights Act passed here in Colorado and at the federal level have provided victims with ways to participate meaningfully throughout the criminal justice process. Whereas the rights of crime victims are best protected when all participants in the criminal justice process, not only victims, are appropriately educated about victims' rights. Whereas supporting victims of crime is crucial in the United States justice system because our support honors the experience of victims and allows them to find autonomy and empowerment through achieving self-defined goals. Whereas we must help victims access the justice, assistance, and support they need to rebuild their lives. Whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week honors crime victims and survivors, recognizes the professionals and the volunteers who provide critical services to victims of crime, and raise awareness about crime victims' rights and services. Whereas this year's theme is a call to action for us to create safe environments for crime victims to share what happened to them, that by doing so, we are able to offer support, options for life-saving services, and most importantly, hope. Whereas Commerce City is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and victim services providers, and bringing hope and healing to all victims and survivors. Now, therefore, the City Council of Commerce City does hereby proclaim the week of April 6th through the 12th of 2025 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week, reaffirming Commerce City's commitment to creating a victim services and a criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during this week and throughout the year.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Kim.
So moved.
Councilmember Dukes.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Kim, for reading this as well. I'm trying to get my thoughts together here. I would say ultimately, crime victims' rights are essential to a fair and just legal system by ensuring that victims are informed and heard, protected and compensated, and socially acknowledge their suffering and help them rebuild their lives, strengthening their rights not only by benefiting individuals, victims, but also contributing to more compassionate and effective justice system. So I appreciate your reading proclamation. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you very much, Kim. You do some of the hardest work there is in the county.
Thank you.
And it is so critically important that you're there, that the volunteers who work with you are there. Just the topics that you have done proclamations for tonight would be daunting for any of us on a daily basis, and yet this is what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, thank you. And I would like to echo the sentiments of the Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you so much for reading all of these very important proclamations.
Thank you. And if I may add one comment.
Sure.
So the Brighton and Commerce City merged in 2014, and since that time, I have seen the overwhelming leadership of the police department and the city and the community come together to support victims of crime. And I just think it's really notable that our community of Commerce City really cares for victims, cares for their healing and their pathway to justice, and that's just a commendable thing. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, and you're a big part of that. And I was on council back in 2014, and I do remember us joining forces with Adams County, so thank you for bringing that up.
Thanks.
Any other council members?
Take a vote.
Councilmember Dukes, did you? Okay. All right. The motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. I will ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open. Your vote is open.
Okay, that passed unanimously with 8 and 1 excused absence. I appreciate everybody coming forward and reading the proclamation, and this means so much that we do have the ability to have these proclamations in our city. And not done beforehand, but actually done before the people. So thank you. Okay. Now we'll invite the city council forward, and for those who are present to come up and take a picture. We can do them in order as they were presented. So Kim, if you want to come up. Oh, yeah, no, we're just asking if we would give you this.
Cam, if you could shoot me one way or the other.
You guys come up front on the left side or right side? Part of, you want it? Can you see?
Maybe just, yeah, there we go.
Autism. You guys spread out. Dylan does. Yeah. All right, council, please, go one side or the other. All right?
It's okay if we're later.
Can't see you back this way, okay? All you guys would be in the picture. I'll get there. Okay. See community, come on up.
Yeah, we can stagger it, that works. Yeah. And actually, let's get, actually, do you want to stand right here next to the mayor? Would that work? Perfect. Get everybody's face, yeah, absolutely. Can't go over my shoulder? All right, you guys are looking great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Is there another one?
Sexual assault.
Oh, you're all three of yours.
All right, last one. Well, last one for this anyway. All right, I think we made it. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. All right. On to notice of council business. First one up, requesting an ordinance amendment to the revised municipal code, chapter 2, article 3. I'll invite Councilmember Douglas to introduce this item.
Thank you so much, Mayor Douglas. I would like to get right to the heart of it, and I would like to make a motion directing city staff to introduce an ordinance on first reading for the establishment of the Environmental Policy and Innovation Commission, otherwise known as EPIC, that will be codified in Chapter 2 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal code.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Councilmember Chacon?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, the motion on the floor is direct the city staff to introduce an ordinance on the first reading for the establishment of the Environmental Policy Innovation Commission, EPIC, that will be codified in Chapter 2 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor Douglas. Councilmember Douglas, would you also be interested in having the Parks, Rec, and Golf Advisory Committee also be codified at this time? PRG and EPAC are currently the only two advisory committees that aren't already codified in code. If we do EPIC, do you want us to also codify PRG at the same time, or would you like that just only doing EPIC right now?
Because I've been so involved in EPAC and actually started out as just a oil and gas advisory commission, and has evolved to this point. I haven't been as involved with the Parks and Rec. Could we ask any of the members who sit on that committee?
Certainly. So this
As
would
a,
just
as a
be-
matter of respect.
Right, certainly. I mean, this would just be codifying them, so they're in our code with our other boards and commissions. Currently, EPAC and PRG are the only two that live outside of the code. So I just want to clarify for consistency if we'd like to do that.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Hi, I would like to comment on that directly. My intention was to bring this up later during Administrative Council business, City Clerk. For one thing, I would like, my consideration is for it to go back to Parks, Recreation, and Golf, to have them come forward. What I would like to see is a Parks and Recreation Commission and a separate Golf and Clubhouse Advisory Committee, so that the golf portion is, becomes its own entity, since it's so different than the other two parts of Parks and Recreation. So I intended to bring that up during Administrative Council business.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 7 yeses and 1 no and 1 excused absence. All right. Up next is the council retreat draft agenda. Any council members have questions about the upcoming agenda for Friday and Saturday? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second. Councilmember Chacon.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda for council retreat.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Second that.
Any
I'll second that.
discussion? Thank you. Any discussion, Councilmember Kim? No. Okay, thank you very much. All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the agenda for council's retreat this Friday and Saturday. I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
That passed unanimously. 8 yeses is 1 excused absence. All right, the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. These items are presented to council on a single motion and a vote. Any member of council may ask to remove a specific item off the consent agenda. Further discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, there are 9 items on the consent agenda. Do any council members wish to remove any items? I have one. It's Resolution 2025-041. Resolution 2025-01, if approve, authorize the city manager to negotiate a reimbursement agreement with Gray Star Development Central LLC up to $500,000 for cost of construction for regional drainage improvements to alleviate flooding along Peoria Parkway. The improvements will be constructed as Aberdeen Subdivision Number 3 project located north of 104th and Peoria Parkway. And a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. Councilmember Chacon?
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda, consent agenda.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
I'll second that, please.
Okay. All right, motion on the floor is to approve the amended agenda. We'll ask the city clerk to take a roll call vote.
Minutes of the March 3rd, 2025 regular meeting, ordinance 2670, an ordinance amending the 2025 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by appropriating unencumbered fund balance in the general fund in the amount of $300,000 for use on community events, including specified inter-transfer funds and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Resolution 2025-014, resolution authorizing award of a contract for playground replacement project to Leah Park and Play Incorporated DBA Recreation Plus. Resolution 2025-035, a resolution authorizing award of a contract for 27J softball fields construction to Colorado Designscapes Incorporated. Resolution 2025-036, a resolution for the acceptance of a public art donation and installation of such public art at Eagle Point Recreation Center. Resolution 2025-040, a resolution granting a temporary construction easement. Resolution 2025-045, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement by and among Adams County, Colorado Legal Services, the City of Commerce City, the City of Westminster, the City of Thornton, the City of Federal Heights, the City of Brighton, the City of Aurora, the City of North Glen, and the City and County of Broomfield for a landlord/tenant legal services program. Resolution 2025-048, a resolution denying case PUDA 23-0004 and adopting written findings. Your vote is open.
That passed unanimously with 8 yeses and 1 excused absence. Thank you. The item that I reference on, I was going to ask the city manager to explain what this request about the $500,000 of construction. My question is, has this development, the 336 unit multifamily, has that been administratively approved?
Yes, it's currently undergoing administrative approval. I'm asking the Community Development Director, Mr. Jeff Brazel, to speak to the stage of its review. I would tell you as such that he'll provide you on where it's been posted or if it's already been approved, awaiting for this final piece subject to the development agreement. But Mr. Brazel, if you do not mind joining me, please.
Good evening, Mayor Council. So the development review status is that the final plat and the development plan, which is the site plan, are going through the review process and are almost finalized. They're working on tying up the development agreement. And these 2 items that council voted on this evening, one was the temporary easement, and then this reimbursement agreement are part of that process to bring that project over to the finish line.
All right, thank you. Is this like apartments or townhomes or?
Yeah, they're apartments.
Apartments, okay. All right, thank you. Any other council members' questions? Thank you for that explanation. I did not know this was apartments.
I guess I got a question.
Councilmember Teeter.
When they go through are they going to cut through that O'Brien Canal, or are they going to go under it, or?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Teeter. There will be a culvert that is constructed underneath the canal.
So they're just going to burrow underneath the canal?
That is correct.
That's what I'm hearing? Okay.
That's correct.
I had some concerns about doing it this time of year because it's going to be full of water.
Yeah, I mean, the canal company will dictate the timing of that, and a lot of it has to do with the spring runoff conveyance as well. So I'm sure there's going to be some restrictions on time in construction.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brazel, while you're up there, could you explain the reimbursement process and what the need is for the $500,000 to back to this Gray Star development?
Yeah, the term reimbursement agreement is kind of misleading, but it's a very technical term because of our code language. It's actually a credit against fees which they would normally have to pay as part of the development. So the drainage impact fee will be assessed to this particular project, and whatever that fee is, they're eligible to be credited up to $500,000 against that fee because of the regional nature of the improvement that they're installing.
Okay. And then being 336 units, what does that break down to per unit for that impact fee? Yeah, I know we have a schedule, but I just.
Yeah, the drainage impact fee is not on a per unit basis. It's on impervious. It's based upon impervious area, and I don't know what that coefficient is. Do you? Yeah.
Do you mind coming forward with that information? Appreciate that.
Yeah, so this is our interim city engineer, Chris Hodel. He's just looking up the impact fee amount.
I just need to pull up the impact fee that was passed.
And while you're looking that up, another question about road impact fees. Is there going to be a road impact fee associated with this as well?
Yes, all of our impact fees are going to be assessed to this project.
Okay, thank you.
It's 70 cents per square foot of impervious area.
Okay, thank you. Is that the new updated impact fee?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
So is this, I don't know what the word is this traditional that this would be reimbursed?
Yeah, so the impact fees are collected to help fund projects that would not be the responsibility of any one particular development. And so as part of this development, they not only have to put in all the stormwater infrastructure to service their development, we're requesting that they put this regional improvement in, which would be something that would be normally borne by the city. But because the development is right next to where the improvement needs to go, the development also benefits their development as well, but it has a regional benefit to the entire city. In that general area, it's considered a regional improvement, and it's what the impact fees would be normally put towards. So this is a fairly common thing when a development is implementing regional improvements that the impact fees are typically associated with.
And this has already been administratively approved?
It's working its way through the process. It's at the end of that administrative approval process.
And you'll make sure that it meets all the criteria that's set out?
All of that is reviewed by staff through an iterative review process that has been ongoing for a couple of years now.
And this property was already zoned R3, is that correct?
It is zoned PUD for this particular use.
PUD, okay. And was there notice to call for a public hearing, or was this just part of the PUD that it could be administratively approved?
Yeah, and any site plan or development plan and final plat is an administrative approval process.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble, did you have a question?
My question's been asked.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members, questions? Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you all.
All right. Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Sorry, I did have a question. Because this is 336 units, it's just above, just south, not above, I'm looking at a map, it's just north of the Aberdeen condos on Peoria Parkway. Is there going to be a traffic light at Peoria Parkway? I'm trying to envision 336 drivers plus coming out onto 104th.
I think the simple question now, ma'am, is it's hard to say now. One, I think just for the relevance of the conversation here, we don't have that information available. We'd have to follow up with you on that.
Okay. It is a sizable apartment complex, and that is where traffic backs up for the railroad tracks. And it's also just south of it is to be 168 garage truck depot. So that's a lot of vehicles on 104th between Highway 2 and Highway 85.
So, you
my
know, understood. We'll make sure to get information out to the council.
So my understanding, there's this traffic light, it's there already.
There's a traffic light at the intersection of 104th and Peoria. Yes, you're correct about that, Mayor. If there's any additional improvements, the correct place and where those will be analyzed and addressed accordingly would be with the subdivision plat and the associated development agreement.
Okay. And then across the street is going to be Crown Terminal, they're building right now. But if you are exiting that property, that intersection is going to be a full intersection, correct, as far as the lights? Because right now because there's nothing coming out of that because it's on the south side.
On the south side, correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously a future four-way traffic signal contemplated right now, given that there's no development to the south and roadway alignments necessary to support development. Yes, there'd have to be some southbound movement. Whether or not, once again, appropriate development will determine the delivery of those improvements southbound of that intersection, as well as we're talking about with this one, they'll go through the proper development review process and assignment of what those mitigating improvements are to that project as part of those agreements.
I know when this was brought up years ago, back in 2017, one of the criteria or stipulations was they would have to help pay for the light at that intersection. And I know at that time, the city council approved intersection poles to be manufactured, not only for that intersection, but 104th and Rivera, let's see, 120th and E470, 120th, and there was another intersection that they were able to, I think it's Walton, 104th and Walton as well. So that was one of the stipulations that was approved by council, those conditions, they would have to help pay for the light.
And that very well may be, Mayor, and like I said, that'll be tied to the development agreement with the plat.
I appreciate that. Has nothing to do with this, but I thought I would tie it in there. Councilmember T, did you have a question?
I do not.
Okay. Councilmember Ford, did you have?
I'm ready, prepared to make a motion.
Okay. Councilmember Douglas, did you?
I had one more question, if that's possible. Was this something that was, this reimbursement, is this something that was offered by the city, or is this a request of the developer? Am I allowed to ask that question?
Councilmember Douglas, this was a request from the developer.
All right, thank you.
All right, I need a motion and a second to approve the resolution 2 2025-041. Councilmember Ford.
So move.
Councilmember Dukes.
Second.
All right, thank you. All right, motion has been made in second. I will ask city clerk to read the title and take a roll call vote.
Resolution 2025-041, a resolution authorizing the city manager to negotiate a reimbursement agreement for public infrastructure. Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 7 yeses and 1 no vote and 1 excused absence. All right, on to council's administrative business. Do any council members have administrative business items or in emergency or unforeseen circumstances? Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
My administrative council business has to do with what we were talking about earlier regarding Parks, Recreation, and Golf Advisory Committee. As the city clerk aptly noted, it is the last advisory committee if EPAC becomes a commission. So I would like to make a motion for the Parks, Recreation, and Golf Advisory Committee to make a recommendation as to whether they want to become a commission, how they want to be identified, and whether golf should be spun off as its own advisory committee. So it would have to do with Buffalo Run Golf Course and Bison Grill Clubhouse.
That's the motion, and the second, Councilmember Dukes.
Before I second, just clarifying, this is going to the PRG to get recommendation for, okay. All right,
Yeah.
I second that.
Okay, all right. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem, I don't have that motion, could you restate that motion, please?
Yes, so the motion is for the Parks, Recreation, and Golf Advisory Committee to determine whether they would like to be a commission, what they would like the name of the commission to be, and number 3, whether golf should be spun off as its own advisory committee for Buffalo Run Golf Course and Bison Grill Clubhouse.
Thank you. All right, ready to take the vote?
Your vote is open.
That passed unanimously, 8, and 1 excused absence. Any other council members have any administrative business?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you very much. City Attorney Zarzeki, I had inquired earlier, but I don't think you saw my inquiry. Can the EPIC item go on the consent calendar?
Yes, it could certainly go on consent, and then obviously the body can make a decision as to whether or not they would like to pull it off.
Okay, so do we need to make a motion about putting it on consent? There
you
wasn't
do-
a date associated with the motion.
No, you do not.
Okay.
You know, I think per council policy, what we try to do is put anything that likely will not be contentious on consent. I think it's entirely fine to have it put on consent and the body, anyone can pull it off if they would like. That is perfectly fine. It would not require a motion from anyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. And I think the city manager had said, sorry, put you on the spot, as far as date for that to be put on first reading in April.
April 7th.
Thank you.
Any other council members have questions? Administrative approval? Administrative? Councilmember Dukes?
Just I guess a point of information, my understanding with consent, any items on the consent agenda have to be unanimous vote. That last vote wasn't unanimous.
That's a fair point. We have had things that have been put on consent on second reading that were not unanimous. That's a good point. I think because there was not a unanimous decision, although that's fair. I think it was not a unanimous decision to direct city staff to bring forward an ordinance on first reading. I think that's a fair interpretation that it might get pulled off and thus is not unanimously supported, so it would not go on consent.
Just to put a finer edge to what the city attorney is noting, when we have put things on consent, they were unanimous of those who were seated. Obviously, if we had someone absent, we didn't look at it in that vein, but in this sense, I understand where the question's going.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
All right, so that gets me back to my question again, which is exactly what I was trying to get at since Councilmember Ford had voted no, that it thus does not qualify for the consent calendar. And in which case, I thought that the motion, that I could make a second motion to ensure that it gets on agenda by date certain, because that wasn't part of the motion.
Thank you. Yes, to your second part, you certainly could make a motion to clarify that would be brought forward by a date certain. I think, just to be candid, the ordinance is drafted. I think it would be very easy to have that ready for council on first reading on the 17th of April. 7th, I'm sorry, 7th. I don't think that would necessitate a motion, but,
Okay.
if you would like it to be, that's fine.
Only because I want to give due consideration to the city manager. If you are suggesting, City Manager Rogers, that April 7th works for you, then it works, then I won't make a motion.
Yes, ma'am. I think we can definitely accomplish that.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
Any council members? Councilmember Dukes, did you have anything? Councilmember Kim? Councilmember Ford? Councilmember Douglas? Councilmember Teeter, do you have any, Mr. No. Councilmember Chacon? Okay. All right, thank you. I have two items. I was talking to City Manager Rogers. Gabe Evans' office reached out to the city manager as asking that myself and the city manager could sit down. Does council have any issues with myself and City Manager Rogers sitting down with Gabe Evans' office about future funding opportunities? And if so, the staff could, afterwards, the staff will be the one to determine how to proceed. Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, City Manager. I think the will of the city with the city manager and the mayor sitting down with Gabe Evans, I understand the intent to talk about it. However, we know there's a lot of frustration on not having a town hall or any open communication. And so I wonder if this is a place where it's either a special meeting with the council or somehow be able to make it more voices at the table to have a discussion with the congressional member.
City Manager Rogers?
So thank you for that, Councilmember Dukes. I think if the forum in which we would be sitting down was appropriate, I would obviously have a different recommendation for you. I mean, the meeting in which his office has reached out to us to sit down to have a high-level conversation about potential funding opportunities that will be coming through his office is with one of their field representatives. I don't want to denigrate a position or a stature within someone's office, but since we're not sitting down with more senior staff members or the congressman himself, and this is more or less really to be able to highlight dates, times, potential options and opportunities for us to evaluate. I see no harm in the mayor and I sitting down and having that conversation and then coming back on what works operation for us to go submit for, lack of better words, a new format of congressional direct spending funds through his office versus actually sitting down and talking with the congressman himself or his senior staff or district director about an outstanding town hall.
Yeah, I have no issues with that. I think the biggest concern that we'll all have to think about in terms of communication is that once that is communicated, folks are going to be really interested in being able to share directly to our congressional member. So just my recommendation is if this moves forward is making sure we are clear on the intent. It's around federal funding and figuring out how we clearly communicate that to the community because we will get some feedback.
Absolutely. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Since you'll be meeting with staff for Congressman Evans, I would like to express reservations about a certain awkwardness when the director, one of the directors of the office, is also the mayor of a town within the district. So within the congressional district, so that as you are sitting there discussing opportunities for Commerce City, is there any conflict of interest, if you will, that that same city might be interested in those same dollars or that same project or whatever the case might be?
You raise a question that obviously I think I've heard has been circling out there. I have to view it from an apolitical position in which, right, we're bringing forward an opportunity to talk about potential opportunities to support the community or to support the operation and supporting the community. It's hard for me to say or me to feel comfortable saying that there's a conflict of interest if he's already taken an oath in serving that office and understanding the ethics and the values that have to be applied both. And I see that the city attorney is going to help give me an assist here, but I'm viewing it from a very narrow and focused conversation about the intent and what we would need in support of his office and or being able to make application and how to be competitive in making application to his office for these new dollars as I've come to understand that are being made available.
I just want to make a distinction. I think, Mayor Pro Tem, I think the question that you were asking is whether or not, given the fact that city staff is meeting with the congressman, whether or not we can bring this issue up, which I think is entirely appropriate. That's distinguishable from a legal determination as to whether or not the mayor has a conflict of interest, right? So I think it's entirely appropriate. Whether or not he has a conflict of interest is certainly something I am hopeful he has brought to the attention of his jurisdiction city attorney. They have a code of ethics I'm well aware of. I've looked at it. So that's how I would make that distinction. It is entirely appropriate to bring that up, though.
Thank you for refining my query.
Councilmember Douglas?
So these meetings would actually be with the congressman, not a staff member?
No, this would be with the field representative within his office, so not the district director, not his staff liaison from his office in DC, and not with the congressman either.
So that would be someone local then?
This would be someone local in the ground, boots on the ground, working in the field. She is serving as a facilitator of information and nothing more.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Kim?
Thank you. So while Mayor Pro Tem may be very reserved by it, I'm just going to say it like it is. I feel that there is a conflict of interest with the fact that the mayor of Brighton is serving as a director for Congressman Gabe Evans. And the only reason why I say that is because of the fact that you have him as a mayor that potentially that Congressman Evans, if there's stuff that's coming down the pipe that could potentially favor Brighton versus Commerce City. Now, to the city attorney's point, the city attorney mentioned that that you would think that maybe their attorney has already gone through the legal ramifications to ensure that the mayor of Brighton is okay in serving that role he's serving in. there's still that perception that is out there, whether it's with his constituents or our constituents whatsoever. I personally do not think the mayor of Brighton still needs to be the mayor of Brighton at this point. He should be resigning from his position if he's going to serve on Congressman Evans's position. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kim. Yes, I would ask that we do have these talks, that it would be confidential in nature. And that way, it's only, where our discussion is, it's about Commerce City's funding issues and CIP projects that we may need help federally. And that if there is a joint effort with either the county, Adams County, or Brighton, that certain individuals could not be involved in those discussions of being, that it could be competitive dollars in nature as far as funding. But if there's something that we can work on, because I know some of these programs are stacked, and if we have with the county and other neighboring cities along on a project to get funded, that we have to make sure we navigate that in a way where it doesn't interfere with the overlapping. Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. After witnessing the contentious atmosphere that lingers over DC at this point in time, I think that this is an opportunity that's given to us that we should take advantage of, no matter what the circumstances are. I think walking away from it would be a big mistake. So I will be in support of this.
Do you need to make a motion on that, or?
I think it was just for more of awareness, Mayor, that, you know, I'm open and game with sitting down with you to have that conversation, right? It's a blend of policy and operations. I think policy-wise, you know, you and I can sit down in advance of that meeting on how you would like to craft some of these higher level discussions. With his office, you know, I'm obviously very focused on how we can go after these dollars to support us on a number of different operational opportunities for the community.
Okay, and I would suggest that it should be a Zoom meeting, maybe offer a Zoom meeting with the field staff in DC instead of here, only because of the conflict of the Brighton mayor.
I think we can propose that and see what they come back with.
Okay, thank you. All right, and my second one is this council okay with meeting with Adams 14 on March 31st? And myself working with President Lovato for the agenda for March 31st? Are there any issues? Yes. Is that okay? Yes. Councilmember Kim? Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, on to reports. City Manager Rogers, any weekly reports?
Thank you, Mayor. I will step through this quickly as I can. In collaboration with Community Wellbeing and the Yahweh Health Clinic, there was an organized free blood pressure screening at Adams County Food Bank. We had 11 participants who had their blood pressure read and were able to speak with a cardiologist there on site. We're in the last stages of standing up the What's New C3 Come Tour Development With Us map, which is an interactive tour of active development projects, those under review and under construction within the city. That map connects into our Central Square system that will allow users to access project file information from plats and plans to comments and from referral agencies as well. We hope to have that up and live for our community to use by the end of this week. From an economic development perspective, staff met with our communications team to finalize design input with our consultant team for the revamp of the redefiningcommerce.com website. We're also in the final stages of our RFP scope for marketing services, and we're working with procurement so that we can get that out on the street as well. On the public works, we have a posted request for bids for the 105th and Chambers span wire signal. Bids must be submitted by 3 p.m. Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Once we're able to work through the contractual arrangements, which means council will have to approve a resolution for me to negotiate a contract in April and come to an agreement, all that work will be completed or must be completed within 120 days of issuance of a notice to proceed. Today, I entered into an IGA with CDOT on proposed improvements to Tower Road and Quebec Parkway signal retiming. On Tower, it would be the intersection of 81st, 88th, 96th, and 104th. And that project would improved vehicle detection technology equipment that provides dilemma zone protection and red protect function. It is believed the signal retiming will be used as a countermeasure and will reduce the number and severity of crashes at these intersections that which between 2018 and 2022, we had 89 crashes at those various intersections. For Quebec Parkway, it would coordinate the 4 signals between 58th and 72nd, so 58th, 60th, 64th, and 72nd. There would be special event timing as well as upgrading left turn signal heads to flashing yellow arrows. These improvements are expected to improve traffic flow, reduce congestion, improve driver behavior, and provide improved safety for all users of the road. We anticipate once we're able to now take that next step with an RFP and getting out on the street, a summer delivery of the signal retiming. We've also taken the next stage in moving forward with median improvements for Highway 2 between 72nd and 112th. We anticipate construction will begin in September after council takes action on authorizing myself to negotiate a contract in August. On 120th, we received word from that Buffalo Ridge Metro District has been able to work through final design issues with the Water District and has placed the request for bid back on the street for bidders to submit by the end of the month. There is a likely chance that the cost of construction will exceed what is appropriated. Right now, the city has $4.9 million into that project. The Buffalo Ridge Metro District has 4.1 into it for a total of around $9 million. And that there, once again, like I said, there's a likely chance that that cost for construction may be above what was appropriated. If that is the case, and once we know from those bids, it is our plan to come back to council and have a discussion on those cost exceedances jointly with the Metro District once we know those details. So I am giving you all that heads up just in case it does come back being above that $9 million all in between both entities.
City Manager Rogers, I had a question about that. So was that tied to the federal funds?
Those are not.
$1 million?
The 4.9 were actual CIP and general fund appropriations that we had put aside, and then there was a funds that came out of the capital improvement funds for the Metro District. So there are no federal dollars tied to this.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Dukes.
Question for City Manager. Thanks for the update. Question about Chambers and 105th. I know we had the open house conversation. Do you have any data or any things to share that residents talked about?
It's my understanding we had around 4 to 5 residents show, so we didn't have great turnout. I think where I have heard consistently over the course of the last 2 to 3 years is that has been a pain point and a scary pain point for the community as they have been trying to make left turning movements out of the King Soopers parking lot heading northbound on Chambers Road and or trying to cross it. So being able to have something that's going to, provide additional protections for pedestrians trying to cross at that intersection, as well as I call it more smoother and safer turning movements, traffic movements. I think everyone is waiting and just chomping at the bit to get that going. But we had to design the span wire accordingly for various wind, snow, and the length and the width of that intersection. Quickly following up on a couple more items, April is Autism Awareness Month, as you all know. We're holding our second Cops for Inclusion event, which is a day for kids with diverse abilities to work and to meet with our CCPD officers beginning at 9 a.m. In the last block concluding at 4 p.m. on Saturday, April 12th. And last but not least, you all should have in your inboxes a 2026 budget survey that has been sent out by Finance. I would encourage you all to take that survey. That is important information that will feed into our process as we continue to align internal review and submittal of items for the 2026 budget that align with your goals and your priorities. Last but not least, I want to take us very quickly, or take us through the April 21st, 2025 regular meeting. As it currently stands, we have 5 proclamations from May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness, the week of May 4th to the 10th as National Small Business Week. We have the proclamation declaring May 2025 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Commerce City, and then we have the proclamation declaring May 2025 Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month, and then lastly, May 4th to the 10th of 2025 as Public Service Recognition Week in Commerce City. That evening, you will also receive a presentation from the municipal judge on the 2024 state of the court. We currently have 3 items on consent. Ordinance 2670, second reading of the $300,000 that you all approved today on consent. We have ordinance 2674, which is a discussion around the lease of equipment, including mobile speed units, the execution of a master services agreement. This is looking at your radar van. And then we have a resolution authorizing an amendment to a master services agreement between the city and CDWG. We have a brief discussion on the 2025 mill and overlay. All of that bringing us together at 10:05 p.m.
City Manager Rogers, thank you for your report. And, yeah, sure. And I had a question. Tonight, we were supposed to have, and it didn't say this because it was too late to add it. It was a resolution for Resolution 2025-002, 2025 concrete flat work. That was supposed to have been on tonight's resolution for a 30-minute discussion.
Bear with me, Mayor.
It was for tonight. And I thought maybe it got moved to April.
It's my understanding, looking at a brief note from the Public Works interim directors, is that they're still continuing to work through some of the language, hence why it was removed from the work schedule and not agendized for this meeting.
Okay,
So
thank
there's
you.
more information to come on that.
All right, appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you. When you provide us with the work schedule on the agenda, could it include the dates for the next meetings as opposed to being so far out? On the attachment on the agenda, it begins April 21st rather than April 7th or when the next meeting is?
Yes, we can do that. I think our focus will be obviously looking at 30 days out from that meeting when we come to that next meeting based on the discussion that you all had as council. But yes, we can still show you the totality of those meetings between today and the 21st, for an example.
Right.
But the conversation like we're having right now will be on the 21st.
Right. Because the 21st says locked anyway, which, does that imply that if we had any changes, we wanted to suggest that it was too late to do so?
We've locked it internally from our staff. given the amount of time that we've calculated, and so not to make it too voluminous. So that's where you see locked, is for our staff to be aware we're no longer internally entertaining items.
Okay. And I'm looking at the survey from finance and looking at the options from which we are supposed to pick 3, but it doesn't include the option that I would like, which was to know what all of our revenue sources are. So what is that called? I don't know what that's called among the, how do we, are there grants that we could go after? Are there federal, state, or county funding? Are there other revenues that are possible? Where do we make more money and so forth? Is that revenue projections and trends? That sounds like it's out in front of us, but I'm looking for where we actually get these dollars now for our budget. So our budget is $170 million.
So if I'm trying to understand this correctly, the sources that we currently provide to you all in our budget, because we do provide that to you all.
We need to know when we have the discussion about capital improvement projects the next day, to have a better understanding of the options before us when we have buckets. So we're moving money around among buckets, so that we're not just saying we want 1, 2, and 3. We need to be able to say, well, we're actually giving money to 3. Maybe we should move it down to 4, or do we have an opportunity to get a grant from the federal government that we had overlooked, or do we no longer have an opportunity to get a grant from the federal government?
I think I'm tracking with what you're saying. I guess when you think about the buckets of CIP projects, whether it's road, drainage, or X, we always provide you where those funds are coming from in our presentation. I would call back to the presentation that was made to you all back in July of last year, where we laid out all of those buckets to you about how we fund roads, how we fund parks, how we fund
Right.
X. So are you?
We're doing that for the retreat, though, and it's not one of the options of the following topics. Which would you like to see more information on during the budget process?
Okay. We may have to take this conversation offline, man, because I think I'm not fully appreciating what you're looking for, thinking that we already may provide it. So we may have to link up and talk through that.
Okay. Thank you.
I was gonna, thank you, appreciate that. I did like to survey on question, I think 1 and 2. It said list 3. I think they're all important. I think we should talk about all of them. I didn't have that choice, but I did manage to do 3 on both. But that was just a suggestion because
Very fair.
they're all important.
Very fair. They are. They are.
So thank you. Any other council members have any questions for City Manager Rogers?
I am done, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, City Attorney Zarzaki.
Nothing from me, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. On to City Council's report. Councilmember Ford.
Yeah, I just wanted to report while you all were in Washington, I did attend Ken Koger Fire Chief's walk-off ceremony and his retirement event. And I want to wish Ken Koger congratulations on his retirement and wish him well in his endeavors.
Thank you, Councilmember Ford. Thank you for attending that and representing the city. Appreciate that. Councilmember Kim.
I have a few things since the last time we talked. So on March 5th, I went to the grand opening of the new boutique. If you guys don't know what that is, the boutique is located at Adams City Middle School, and it is headed up by Miss Brandy Valdez, who has been doing a phenomenal job for at least the past 5 years, 4 years, roughly. And what the boutique provides is basically free clothes, free things essentially for Commerce City residents who are in dire straits or in dire need. On March 7th, I did attend the Adams 14 State of the District. On March 8th, I attended the Plant One Flare reroute project that Suncor is doing or planning to do. The Memorial Day Parade on March 12th. Along with the Housing Authority meeting that later on that evening. Chambers meeting on the 13th and mini-con on Saturday the 15th. A huge shout out to Ms. Kylie Whitmore and along with Ms. Alexis Fair at Bison Ridge Rec Center for putting it all together, along with the hundreds of people that actually I think showed up. I'm not really much of a sci-fi individual, but so I just get my annual dose essentially of going to these types of events to check it out. So, but it was a pretty cool event overall. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for representing the city in my absence.
We didn't burn it down though, so it's good.
It's okay, the water's still flowing. Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let you know I attended several events. One was mini-con. I'll just piggyback on that. It was a great event, and my son was able to dress up and enjoy the things they had to offer, all the stuff that was there. I was truly impressed with the size, the organization, and just the number of conversations that people really got into, and just how great it was overall. I've attended other festivals like that, but this one seemed like it's a lot of potential to even get bigger. So thank you for everyone who put that together. I had coffee with the chamber, so I was able to sit down with the chamber on a couple Wednesdays ago to really sit down and listen to their concerns from the business owners, and as well as share some of the updates that we've had over the last couple weeks with our developer meetings and such. Great discussion to hear what concerns they have. The other piece is I was able to actually join one of my monthly meetups with Councilmember Ford at Tasty Donuts. This was a great discussion with a number of residents that have been around the city for decades and generations, and being able to hear their concerns. And I do want to express just overall as a council, when I meet with a number of residents, they're excited about the city, one, and they're excited to be here. But also they just want us to really continue to get back to basics and think about trash and think about potholes. And so when we think about lights and safety things across the cities, a lot of the residents want that as well. Just the thing I keep hearing about was we want to continue to have pride in the city. We love being here. We've raised our families here, and so we want to continue to push that. I had another meeting with the Home Builders Association as a follow-up to our meeting with the developer meeting, just to hear their overall concerns. Overall, they felt the meeting went great, and they still want to have additional conversations, not just with the developers and landowners and property owners, but also begin to think about other folks from the hospitality industry and the hotel, or not hotel, but hospital industry, and things that are folks that represent commercial and retail, so they can help also shed some more light on what are some of the challenges we may be facing in Commerce City in addition to just growth. Yeah, one of the big things that they expressed multiple times, I think since I've been on council, was the conversation around the sprinklers, the suppression system. And they expressed it in a sense of that it obviously increased costs to build the housing and such on what they're doing, but it also makes it less affordable for residents in Commerce City. As we think about the price of housing, it's going up, and in some ways these suppression systems can increase the cost of housing, which makes it even less affordable, in addition to some of our impact fees. So this is something I would love to, I'll bring this together in a future meeting to talk through what the impact of these suppression systems have had, not on just the future residents, but also on residents here, because my understanding insurance is more costly as well. So I'd love to bringing together a study session in the near future to talk through what are our options to help make our Northern Range specifically more affordable for everybody. My next, I call them walkabout nothings. These are opportunities for residents to meet me in the community and walk and talk about what are some neighborhoods, issues, challenges, needs. It's going to take place April 12th, and we'll start at the Historical Society right there in core Commerce City, and we'll walk the neighborhood, and so I invite folks to join and begin to talk about nothing, or just walk with your neighbors, walk with your community, and I'm here to listen about what is some other concerns. So with that, that's it. Let's yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members have reports? Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you very much. I know Contour Estates will probably want to join you on that walk. They're right there by the Historical Society. I do have a question, since it was raised about meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. What is the status of the Small Business Advisory Committee? How long was that group supposed to meet, and do we get a report back from them?
Yes, ma'am. Your Small Business Task Force is currently working on some policy recommendations based off of the work that they've been having around the table. The goal was to have a report to you all within the first 6 months, once they were able to hold their first meeting, and they held their first meeting, I believe, in the October timeframe.
So the first 6 months of the year, or the first 6 months?
First 6 months after they had their first meeting as a formal group. So that timeframe should be coming up rather soon.
Yeah.
And I believe, like I said, they're working on recommendations, and I'm actually waiting on an update from the team on when to anticipate that or to expect that.
Okay, thank you. I think the only one I'll focus on is attending the Senior Commission meeting. And one of the things they're working on is collaborative work with well-being, since both the Senior Commission is interested in the well-being of seniors, and the well-being team is interested in the well-being of all Commerce City residents. There is some overlap when it comes to projects and efforts that the Senior Commission has been doing and have committed to. They take very seriously that they provide us, they not only discuss what their goals are in October, but they actually send them to us. I don't know how many other commissions or committees do that, but they do send them what they want their goals to be for the year, and they want to accomplish those goals. So it's really important. The other is that they are going to begin work on providing us with data regarding a standalone senior center. So they will be visiting senior centers throughout Adams County. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. So it's been a very productive 2 weeks since my last report. The trip to DC was very well worth it. It's not easy to travel to the East Coast and have a jam-packed schedule and to meet with all of these different agencies and our members of Congress, and to interact with them and to let them know that we're here and our citizens deserve the best and what everyone else just expects. It was an incredible trip for me this time. I gleaned so much and I made so many contacts, and I just felt like it was probably the most productive trip that I have made to DC over the last 4 years of my service here on this council. And one of the things that I got asked to do was to be involved in an NLC focus group. And I felt that was really an honor to have been asked to participate in that, because NLC wants to provide the very best service that it possibly can to its members. I made a lot of really great contacts that I intend to follow up on. Saw the Youth Commission members in DC. There were 6 of them that went, and they were very excited to be there. But I also got to carry the message to the focus group that our Youth Commission really wants to interact with the adults more and have more of a presence at the actual NLC conference, because they are our future. And what they want to see their future look like is really important. And so I brought that to the focus group, and the representatives from NLC were very interested in finding out about that, and they will take that into consideration moving forward to make the youth an actual part of the conference itself. And I also want to congratulate and wish him well in his retirement. Ken Kroger has served this community for so many years, and he deserves a great retirement. So I wanted to acknowledge him in his retirement from serving the city. And that's all I have for now, but I will be listening to the recordings that I made of all of the sessions that I attended, making notes and bringing all of the information back to you that I got in DC this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? City Manager Rogers had a question about the next, our study session is next Monday, March 24th, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is it still scheduled to end at 8:55?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Would that be time between now and then for a conclusion or wrap-up of our trip to DC? Or would your staff need more time?
I know my staff is still working on notes that they took. I don't think they're in any format yet that would be delivered in a presentation format.
Okay, no problem.
But yes, I think we'd want to share the notes with, obviously, the rest of council. And then I think we can discuss, right, because you all had your own experiences as well. So I wouldn't want to speak wholly on the council that was there. But we can share from our perspective those notes and then determine how you all would like to proceed in a more broad conversation on next steps.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to ask that question. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to extend my gratitude to the residents of Commerce City for allowing me and as the mayor and 6 council members to attend the congressional city leadership meeting from March 10th to the 12th. And prior to that, we did have a advocacy trip to DC, which was, I thought was fruitful. We first started out with Congressman Gabe Evans' office, and then following that was Senator John Hickenlooper's at lunch, and then proceeded over to Senator Michael Bennett's office, and then we had a trip over to the Army, the Pentagon, to talk about wildlife refuge and some interesting talks as well. And I just bring it just on a light note, and then we offered opportunity as a council who went to actually report back on a later date. I think that would be great for our citizens to hear each council member's experience. On Thursday, we had Fish and Wildlife and the Department of Interiors. And then we went over to Federal Rail and Highway. And it was interesting speaking to Rail, because I know trips in the past, we've gone to talk about stoppage on the tracks along the corridor over 104th, 120th, well, actually 104th and 112th, 96th and 88th, and there is a hydraulic airline on 104th and that corridor between Highway 85 and Highway 2. And they did break down that they did try several times to decouple the trains. That system allows those trains to actually get the hydraulic lines to get the air back in the lines for the brakes. But because they're limited as far as staff and the fact that decoupling and coupling them back extends it for another hour or two. And the conductors would have to walk the train when they decouple and then when they put the train back together. So what they did say was if you are stuck on the tracks, please still continue to call the number associated with that location because they do follow up to make sure that who's ever using that line during that time, if there was a disruption, it would help improve the flow and the stoppage, but nothing's guaranteed. But also indicated to me that, from my understanding, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. They're not going to separate the trains. The federal, it's up to Congress to change those rules. So that would be something we need to talk to our two senators and congressmen about those ongoing issues with the trains. Had a discussion with the RTD about the train tracks, moving the rail off of 68th in Colorado, and had a good discussion today with the opportunity for the city to engage with the $2 million with the decarbonization grant. They're going through the process now. And question for City Manager Rogers. My time's up. Just a question for you, City Manager Rogers. There was a staff member that attended.
Yes, sir. We've been participating for the last 3 or 4 months with Dr. Cog on this matter, so.
Right. I know there's a staff side and then there's the committee side. So, and today was asked on Friday if we could have this meeting and be involved. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. And then shout out to Chief Koger for all his years of service with South Adams Fire, especially being with the unit for as long as he has served. That's very commendable for his service. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mayor, for giving us a hint of what the experience was like. And I look forward to having a full conversation and we can all go through it together. Since you brought up March 24th, that ends at 8:35, I noticed that April 28th ends at 10:20, 2 hours later. And I wondered if there was anything on April 28th that could be moved to March 24th in order to balance out the study sessions?
I would say it's too late at this time, ma'am. Items were to be submitted for the March 24th meeting a week and a half ago. So trying to move something up when not originally anticipated, quite honestly, just wouldn't be fair to my staff. And I think I just have to leave it there, ma'am, unfortunately.
I appreciate that. Just going forward, I think when you all are figuring out the timing on these, to notice when they end and make sure that there's more balance. I think that was one thing that we had been working on previously. Also, I noticed on April 14th, it says that there is a BREDAC update. That's the Blue Ribbon Economic Development Advisory Committee, and I wondered what that update was since it hasn't met in a couple of years.
You had requested us to provide updated numbers to the information that was provided to BREDAC and to bring that back to the council, so that is what that is, ma'am.
Okay, so that's a reference to how we compare on fees to other communities.
Yes, ma'am.
and taxes and so on and so forth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right, any last requests? Okay. All right, it's 8:23. We're adjourned. And don't get happy, because this is, oh, sorry, it's Happy St. Patty's Day.
It's too late.